Hello, my name is Laura Haynes. Today in this presentation I'm going to talk to you through a case study of differentiation within my classroom. The student that is the topic of this case study presents with and is diagnosed with emotional behavioural disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, for which medication has been prescribed. The student is also diagnosed with dyspraxia, disrupted attachment disorder, and anxiety. For the purpose of this case study, I'll be focusing on the most prevalent SEN within the classroom, and that is dyspraxia. To maintain anonymity for the student, I'll be using the pseudonym Patrick. Patrick has had an unsettled background and a distressing childhood, resulting in and heightening his special education needs. Patrick is currently in first year in a rural co-educational school. He is 13 years old. Throughout primary school, Patrick was provided with access to an SNA and 3 hours of resource time per week. This carried over into secondary education. Patrick is now required an SNA for behavioural reasons rather than academic. He is of above average intelligence. Throughout my contact with Patrick, he was being weaned off SNA access due to improved behaviour. My initial contact with Patrick was positive. He was a very polite and welcoming boy and seemed to enjoy school. The school was reluctant to divulge SEN information to me before I arrived at the school. Once I started speaking to resource staff, I became aware of Patrick's needs. At this point, I was 1.5 weeks into a 6-week lino printmaking scheme with this class of 21 first-year students. Given my lack of knowledge of the SEN presenting within my classroom, planning for differentiation at the beginning was vague, and I found myself better at dealing with problems and issues as they arise within the classroom. The research phase of this project allows students to engage in the classroom, critique and respond to artist work, and develop their understanding of observation through initial drawings. Patrick engaged well in the classroom and enjoyed answering and asking questions. Throughout this phase, I used Think Pair Share to introduce and discuss artist work. And when asked to describe objects using descriptive and visual language, to prevent students from becoming shy throughout discussion, I asked the students to write down their answers and responses based on a colleague's advice. Patrick responded well to the artwork, but it was through writing that I noticed signs of his dyspraxia. The initial ideas phase of the project was heavily based on drawing, and given Patrick's writing style, I was interested to see how he would manage through drawing. Patrick's case file stated that he was quite creative and artistic. I allowed the student to start drawing, holding back any strategies. While completing a task, Patrick was taking a break. When I questioned him, he stated that he needed a break due to dyspraxia. This is when I gave Patrick a pencil grip to improve comfort when he was drawing. This worked well and he was able to stick at a task for longer. Patrick's difficulty with spatial awareness became apparent when he was drawing different compositions of the objects. This is visible in the image here to the right. Intervention and discussion provided Patrick with some concrete strategies to develop an understanding of space and proportion. The image to the left shows visible improvement when spacing his work. Discussion continued with his peer as they developed through the work, allowing peer teaching to take place organically. The development phase of the scheme allowed the students to apply focus and attention to one drawing. When comparing Patrick's earlier drawing with the pencil stage of his final drawing, it is clear that some regression may have taken place. There is a clear understanding of observation, shape, and a light source from this drawing, which is missing from the later one. The dyspraxia foundation suggests breaking down each task into smaller, more manageable ones. My cooperating teacher reaffirmed this strategy by suggesting to do this through demonstration, allowing Patrick to break down the steps of my drawing. Images from my demonstration are shown here. Using questioning, Patrick was able to talk me through each step of developing the drawing, while pinpointing all elements of observational drawing, for example, identifying a light source and areas of shadows, including the curves of the objects, and so on. Seen here in Patrick's final drawing, areas of dark tone have been blocked out, and pattern has been used to identify areas of middle tone. Patrick was extremely proud of his final drawing, and the sense of accomplishment was clear. Moving on to the lino, I was concerned that Patrick's dyspraxia would present him with difficulty cutting the lino. However, using this easy, it allowed Patrick to cut the lino with ease, and it didn't seem to be an issue. The printmaking classes were set up more as a studio environment, allowing the students to move between stations of mixing ink, rolling ink, and printing onto paper. I had aimed that this would allow the final prints to stay clean. The studio was a fast-paced and independent environment, in which Patrick, I think, felt overwhelmed. He began to present some silly behaviour, and with the SEN access at a minimum, I was required to keep Patrick on task and to prevent him from getting distracted. This behaviour was mentioned within Patrick's case file and is a symptom of his ADHD. The behaviour and hyperactivity produced some messy and disorganised prints. To combat this, I paired Patrick with a calm and easygoing student so that they would stick together throughout the printmaking stations, keeping Patrick on task. This worked quite well and his hyperactivity was lessened. His work improved, as seen in this image, with clean and even borders. This pair work also allowed for some additional creativity to take place. Patrick felt comfortable enough to experiment with different colour combinations for the work. Seen here in this image, Patrick used a light green paper and was excited to use white ink on top of it to see what would happen. This experimentation was lovely to see, and I could see the comfort that he had in the classroom. Additionally, within the school there are 2 support dogs that are training. These dogs work mostly with students within the resource room, but in another class, one of the dogs was brought in to help a student with autism. The results were phenomenal. The student was calmer and more at ease. For the final printmaking class, I brought this dog in with me. It allowed Patrick to have something to do when he was idle, preventing him from becoming silly and disorganised. Patrick would spend a short amount of time with the dog and get back to his work with more purpose. This is definitely a valuable resource to take advantage of. These dogs need the experience, and it is amazing to see the dogs that work with the students. In conclusion, I feel that my experience with differentiation was successful. I implemented a number of strategies that are recommended by theoretical views and by my colleagues. Patrick was overjoyed with his work, and when he was reflecting on his work, his answer to the question, "Is there anything about your work that you were unhappy about? Explain your answer," he responded with, "No, it was perfect." This confidence was a success in itself. Differentiation is difficult to implement. Students react differently to different environments and situations. Strategies of differentiation should be individual to that student and implemented when needed. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you.